All right, let's get right into it. We don't really think about the massive hidden systems that keep our cities clean, right? But deep down, inside our water treatment infrastructure, there's this constant battle being fought against some pretty persistent and, let's be honest, kind of gross unwanted guests.
So what is hiding in there? It's a really good question, because it's not just the microscopic stuff we all picture. Nope, these systems are actually home to entire ecosystems. And in those ecosystems, some creatures get big enough to throw a real wrench in the works, and I mean that both literally and figuratively.
So these critters, they actually have a technical name. We call them macrofauna. Basically, just think of them as invertebrates, bigger than the microscopic stuff, that have figured out that our treatment facilities are the perfect place to live. And boy, have they come ready for a feast. And at the very heart of this whole battle is something called biofilm. Now this stuff is actually crucial. It's this slimy layer of good guy microorganisms that break down all the waste. But for pests like filter flies and snails, that essential biofilm is just a giant all-you-can-eat buffet. So let's meet our two main troublemakers. In one corner, you've got the filter fly. This thing is a tiny nuisance, but it breeds incredibly fast and just munches away at that vital biofilm. And in the other corner, the snail. It's this hard-shelled predator whose shell is actually just as destructive as its appetite. We're talking about it literally shredding equipment from the inside. So yeah, two pests, two very different kinds of problems.
Okay, first up, the filter fly. When you're dealing with these guys, it's really a battle of numbers. It's not just about the flies you can see buzzing around. The real problem is the millions of eggs and larvae hiding just beneath the surface.
And the biggest challenge here is just their speed. I mean, a single filter fly can go from a tiny egg to a full-grown, reproducing adult in as little as 7 days. Think about that. That explosive life cycle means a small problem can turn into a full-blown infestation like almost overnight. So how do you even fight back against that? Well, the strategy really depends on how bad things have gotten. If it's just a nuisance population, you can often use physical methods, flooding the area, increasing the water flow, that kind of thing. But when those flies start seriously messing with the treatment process by eating way too much biofilm, well, that's when it's time to bring in the chemicals. And one of the cleverest physical strategies is actually pretty simple. It targets the one thing the larvae absolutely need: air. See, they can't breathe underwater. So what do the operators do? They intentionally flood the filter media, submerging the whole thing for about 3 to 6 hours. It's a brilliantly simple and effective way to drown the next generation and break that life cycle, all without a drop of chemicals.
But sometimes flooding just isn't enough. That's when operators turn to chlorination, and this is where it gets really precise. The key number here is the target. They're aiming for a residual chlorine level of just 1 to 2 milligrams per liter in the water that's leaving the filter. It's an incredibly delicate balancing act. You need enough to control the flies, but not so much that you mess up the entire treatment process.
All right, let's switch gears to our second pest, the snail. With snails, it's a whole different ballgame. The problem isn't just about what they're eating, now it's about what they leave behind, which is basically a trail of mechanical destruction.
I mean, think about it. Those tiny hard shells are literally like sending sandpaper through the entire system. They build up in pipes, they clog up equipment, and that abrasive texture just wears down and destroys expensive pumps from the inside out. It's a nightmare.
So as you can probably guess, the control strategies for snails have to be way more aggressive. To deal with a big population, you can't just flood them with regular water. You have to get serious, adjusting the pH or even using some pretty potent chemical treatments. And even then, for all the shells that are left over, you need dedicated physical equipment downstream just to get them out. And you can really see just how different the flooding strategies are. For the flies, standard water does the trick. But for snails, no way. You have to create a much, much harsher environment. We're talking about flooding the system with water that's been adjusted to an alkaline pH of 9 to 10. That's a huge operational shift. And when things get really severe, there's a very powerful chemical option on the table. By recirculating a specific ammonia solution, operators can get 100% snail mortality in just a matter of hours. It's incredibly effective, but yeah, it's a highly specialized, heavy-duty solution. Okay, so we've looked at all these ways to react and fix the problem. But that begs the obvious question, right? How do you stop these pests from even showing up in the first place? And that brings us to the proactive playbook. Because as they say, the best medicine is prevention.
And some smart design choices right from the start can make a world of difference. Things like, for example, having really effective screens and grit removal systems to catch the junk that these pests love to live on, or even choosing modern plastic filter media instead of the older porous rock stuff. It just creates an environment that's way less welcoming to these unwanted guests.
And of course, we have to remember all of this work, whether it's prevention or control, is done by real people working in some potentially dangerous environments. That's exactly why safety protocols, things like lockout/tagout, they aren't just suggestions on a piece of paper. They are absolute, non-negotiable mandates to keep the operators safe.
So why does all this matter so much? Well, it all comes down to the downstream damage. Because these pests, they don't just stay in the filter. Their decaying bodies actually increase pollutants in the final water output. We measure this with things called BOD and TSS, but in simple terms, they just make the water dirtier. And it gets worse. The gunk from the pests can actually shield harmful bacteria from being disinfected. And, like we talked about, those shells can cause total mechanical failure. It is a true chain reaction of problems.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? I mean, if this whole complex battle is going on just to manage a few snails and flies, what other invisible wars are being fought every single day, completely out of sight, just to keep our modern world running the way it does?